When just about any enthusiast is reviewing a ride, they will mention airtime. What airtime moments delivered? Which ones didn't? How strong was that moment? How many moments did it have? Did it not have any airtime even though it tried to? Did it not focus on airtime at all? These questions will often start deliberation and disagreement among many. People will argue with each other over the same airtime moment, with one person claiming it has tons of it and one claiming it has none, and it's all to enforce their own evaluation of the ride and where they have it placed. However, at the end of the day, airtime is not a subjective measurement. It's not a matter of opinion, such as the ride looks pretty or it doesn't. Airtime can be measured using numbers, and with that data, you can prove once and for all that your favorite airtime moment delivers like you say it does, and that is the whole purpose of this video. I will be showcasing the methodology I use to quantify airtime on roller coasters. Inspired by tons of heated arguments online, this system provides a clear and consistent way to evaluate airtime moment by moment. Let's break it all down and show what moments really deliver. Firstly, it's important to get a brief understanding of the force that causes airtime and why it affects your body that way. Because at the end of the day, numbers only matter if you understand what they actually represent. Here, we have a coaster train sitting motionless on a flat piece of track. No matter how fast this train spins, rotates, or travels along the track, it will always have the force of gravity acting upon it. This force is always acting on the train and you, no matter what, and it always has the same magnitude of 1g downward. We know that this force is always there because if the track below the train magically disappeared, the train would free fall downward until it hit the ground. To prevent this free fall, we have the track, which is holding up the train. Since this train is not moving, the track must apply the same force upward as gravity is applying downward. This is called the normal force. The normal force is the force responsible for giving us airtime. Obviously, when we are sitting in the station, we are not receiving airtime, but rather, we are feeling the 1g of force the seat is putting on us to counter gravity. This 1g is the green arrow shown on this diagram. Now, let's take a look of an example of when the train is moving with track curving upward. Let's say for the sake of numbers that we are traveling at a speed of 44 miles per hour or 20 meters a second and the track is curving upward at a radius of 20 meters. The exact same forces as the station example are acting on us, those being the force of gravity and the normal force. However, now that we are traveling along a circular path, we must consider the additional force that normal force must apply in order to keep the train in the circular path on the track. The amount of g's needed to keep the train on this circular path is shown in this formula here. This is known as centripetal force. If you are having trouble visualizing centripetal force, imagine tying a heavy object to a rope and swinging it in a circle over your head. If you cut this rope, the object that you have tied to it will go flying off in a random direction. That's because there is a tension force pointing towards your hand in the rope that is keeping the object on its circular path. That exact same logic can be applied here, except the roller coaster train is the object and the track is the quote-unquote rope that keeps it moving in a circular path. As you can see by the math in this figure, the total amount of force needed to keep the train moving in an upward circle is 2 g's. However, that 2 g's upward must also make up for the 1 g of gravity downward. Thus, the normal force we experience as riders is the combined gravity and the force needed to keep us traveling in a circle. So thus, this force applied to us is 3 g's. This is the basic fundamental on how positive g-forces work. Now, let's look at an example of a track curving downward instead of upward. Let's reduce the speed to 10 meters per second and the track curvature to now 10 meters downward. We can apply the exact same math as before, and as you can see now, the net force acting on the train needs to be 1g downward. However, we already have a force that is 1g downward. Gravity. Thus, the downward circular motion of the train needs no help from normal force at all, and we can just rely on gravity. This creates a perfect 0g moment where the normal force is 0g, or complete weightlessness. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I go over a hill, I don't want to just float weightlessly. I want to be flung into the lap bar. So to accomplish this, we'll shrink the distance of the track radius, making it 5 meters now instead of 10. Using the same formula we did earlier, we now see that we need 2 g's downward in order for the train to maintain its circular path along the hill. We already have 1 g of gravity going downward, so to get the other g, we need the normal force to also be 1 g downward. This 1 g downward is 1 g of airtime. This is strong and would be considered ejector airtime, which to me is the good stuff. This is the basic fundamental of how airtime is created on roller coasters. One more quick thing to note, the normal force is not always pointed straight up or down as we showed in the previous examples. It does, however, have to be perpendicular to the train. With the example on screen, it would look like this. Just remember that the green normal force arrow is always pointing toward or away the center of the circular path. Gravity then splits into two components, one still contributing to airtime and one that is slowing the train down or speeding the train up. But that's more complicated than I want to get for the purpose of this video. All that matters is that the numbers I'm about to present are equal to the magnitude of the green arrow. Alright, enough with the boring math stuff. Now, How do we measure the strength of the normal force, or green arrow, during a ride? Well, this lovely app called Ride Force will measure forces every 0.02 seconds and allows you to export the data to a spreadsheet. It also provides lateral and acceleration forces in addition to vertical force. But for the purpose of this video and airtime in general, we will only be focusing on vertical forces. If you are a coaster nerd like me, I cannot recommend this app enough. I have had so much fun using it to collect the data for this video. I have been so impressed with its accuracy and its ease of use. I have the Apple Watch version, so I never have to worry about loose article policy affecting my ability to take data. To showcase the app's accuracy, here are 2 rides on Jersey Devil Coaster in different rows about 15 minutes apart. You can see the force strength of both rides is pretty much identical. The only differences in the charts come from the different rows causing different shaping on some of the forces, and the ride in row 2 ran a little bit faster than the ride in row 10. So yeah, if you don't have the Ride Force app yet, download it and use it. A link will be in the description. Now, let's take a look at what the Ride Force app looks like in action using a ride on Jersey Devil Coaster. I'm using Jersey Devil Coaster because the chart is pretty clear cut and the elements are easy to follow. And just for the record, the ride that you're about to watch took place on March 30th in row 2. Jumping right into it, you'll see the vertical force chart at the top right. As we crest the lift hill, you'll see we get up to about 1G, then as we drop, we receive a good amount of airtime as we plunge below the 0G line. In the valley, the green arrow reaches 3Gs upward before ascending into the dive loop. As we exit the dive loop, we approach a camelback, where our example shows that at the right speed we can get less than 1G, and sure enough, the chart shows just that. Now we approach the 0G stall, where we actually do hold nearly a perfect 0G. As we enter the turnaround, the front car really whips through this first part here, then as we exit, we don't really get much air because of how slowly this part is taken. Next we enter a 0G roll, where once again we hold the near perfect 0G. As we enter the mid-course, the front car has some speed and the track is curving downward, so we get some air. Then on the exit, the track is again curving downward, but we're traveling with less speed, so the air is a little bit less. Now as we enter these final bunnies, we really see our example set into motion. Downward, airtime, upward, positives, downward, airtime, upward, positives, downward, airtime, upward, positives, downward, airtime. And now on the brakes, we're at our 1G, just like we showed in our station example. Now, we have this data. What do we do with it? A lot of people with the Ride Force app like to just look at the highest and lowest vertical forces and call it a day. But this is really a disservice to the ride and does not paint a full picture at all. Breaking the ride down moment by moment will really show where the airtime is found. Let's take a look at Jersey Devil Coaster's Camelback Hill. We can say that we hit a max negative G of about -1 and that we got about 2.4 seconds of airtime. That's a good surface level breakdown of this singular moment. We can go even deeper than that by just measuring the area between the 0G and the curve. This is also known as integrating with respect to time. This integration gives us a unit of force seconds, which is equivalent to the same unit used in momentum. Thus, by doing this analysis, we are getting the exact upward momentum that this airtime moment is giving the rider. And this is the strategy I use to measure airtime moments. This area, which I'll refer to from now on as the moment's score, got a 45.64, and that's in 50ths of a force second. We'll compare that score to other moments here in a bit, so you can get a better feel for that number. Here is the complete list of roller coasters that I have performed this analysis on. I have compiled these over a couple of years now and finally have enough that I feel comfortable making this video. All the charts you're about to see are taken by my own Apple Watch. For every single airtime moment on these coasters, I found the area underneath the 0G line and recorded the number in 50ths of a force second. Summing up all these moments on any given roller coaster gives the total airtime score for that given coaster. I'm not going to go too much into those because I plan on using them in reviews for each individual coaster, so instead I figured I'll just run through the 20 strongest airtime moments I have recorded using this system. If you see your favorite coaster on the list in front of you, you can only hope your favorite airtime moment on that coaster makes the list, or else all your friends will make fun of you. Forever. Just before I show the results, a quick disclaimer. As we know, there are a lot of variables that could affect these measurements, such as how fast the ride is running, the row I sit in, etc. While impossible to negate all these factors, I did do my best to get these measurements in the back third of the train and in the afternoon to early evening. The only 2 diversions I made from that statement was that I rode Stormrunner toward the front of the train and I rode Velocicoaster a smidge earlier in the day than the others. Unfortunately, I only have 1 file for both of those rides right now, so it'll just have to do. I'm also still working through the kinks on how to incorporate multiple rides on the same coaster into the analysis, so that's something that I'm currently working on. I will say though, row sat in has not had nearly the effect on the charts as I thought it would. The magnitudes of the forces stay the same, it's just the shape of them that's a little bit different, as seen in the Jersey Devil Coaster example earlier in the video. Alright, I've kept you waiting long enough, Here are the top 20 airtime moments as determined by this integration method. At number 20 is Jersey Devil Coaster's Camelback with 45.64. Just something to note as I go through these that the scaling of the time axis varies a little bit. This was done just to make them nicer to present, so just keep that in mind if you attempt to cross-compare charts. At number 19 is Twisted Timbers' first Camelback at 45.81. At number 18 is Skyrish's first Ejector Hill at 46.03. At number 17 is Wildcat's Revenge's Camelback at 47.28. At 16 is Iron Gwazi's first drop at 47.69. At 15 is Maverick's first Bunny Hill at 48.63. At 14 is Twisted Timbers' second Camelback at 48.88. At number 13 is Iron Gwazi's Bunny Hill at 52.96. Look at the negative G value on this one, god damn! At number 12 is Wind Chaser's Camelback at 58.52. At number 11 is the second half of Air Force One's Double Up at 58.58. At number 10 is Iron Gwazi's Outer Bank Turn at 63.71. At number 9 is Kindaka's Top Hat at 66.06. Rest in peace, my sweet prince. At number 8 is El Toro's second Camelback at 66.78. At number 7 is Pantheon's Outer Bank Turn at 67.17. At number 6 is El Toro's first Camelback Hill at 69.76. At number 5 is Stormrunner's Top Hat at 71.19. At number 4 is Pantheon's Top Hat at 71.6. At number 3 is Steel Vengeance's Top Hat at 74.14. At number 2 is Air Force One's Outer Bank Turn at 91.52. And last but not least, in first place, Steel Vengeance's Outer Bank Turn at 97.06. So, there you have it. Now, what can we learn from this? For one, I think this list did a great job featuring some of the best airtime moments that this community always brings up, with maybe a couple notable omissions. Top hats and outer banks especially dominate the field, and the amount of time the negative G-forces held is highly rewarded in this method. Through years of data collection, I think I finally developed something where I can now present hard evidence to anyone who will try to argue about airtime with me, which is what I set out to do in the first place. Now, I want to make this method available to you guys. If you would like me to conduct this analysis on a ride that you have the ride force file for, I have attached a link to a form in the description for you guys to submit them to me. Just follow the directions on the form, and I will analyze the file and return the numbers to you. I will only be reviewing coasters where I have my own files just for the sake of data integrity, but I will share out just the raw numbers so that everybody can see them. I just want to mention one last thing, because I know my analytical approach to roller coasters may trigger some people. Airtime and forces are only one aspect of a roller coaster's ranking, and in no way are these numbers a final determination on the quality of any ride. So, don't take this video as me telling you what your top 50 should be, as in reality, everyone is going to weigh different ride features differently, which is what makes every list different. For example, one person may care a lot about theming, whereas I really don't care about it at all. If everyone graded rides the same way I did, every park would just build RMCs everywhere. So, don't take this video as me telling you how to think. I just think there's so much potential for the use of numbers involving roller coasters. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, feel free to leave any feedback down below, as I am always open to ideas of others and I'm looking for opportunities to improve this method. Like I said earlier, there's still some kinks I'm working out, but I think this method got to a point where I felt comfortable making a video about it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.